Extraordinary developments, a letter from the POTUS, actually the letter from the POTUS to Turkey's President Erdogan, a high-profile visit and a desperate attempt to stop the bloodshed. This is the story of Turkey in a nutshell. Let me explain in detail now. And I'll start with some numbers. Since Turkey started invading Syria last week, nearly 116,000 people have fled their homes near the border. This is the estimate of the United Nations. It's a conservative estimate. The Kurds say that nearly 3 lakh people have been displaced. The death toll is on the rise. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, the civilian death toll stood at 30. This is a figure up to the 12th of October. So here's what happened in the last 24 hours. Turkey is pounding the border towns. The site of the battle right now is Ras Al Ain. Erdogan, the Turkish president, is determined to defeat the Kurds and create the so-called safe zone. This, he says, is the goal of the operation.
Operation Peace Spring has 2 goals. The first is to completely eliminate terrorist groups and PKK bases in northern Syria. The second goal is to safely return to their homeland, to their country, 3.65 million Syrian Arabs who have been our guests for 8 years.
Violence is escalating. The images coming out of Syria are shocking. They could make you numb. You're seeing visuals of a mortar attack on the Syrian border. But back in the White House, Donald Trump is frustrated. Today, a unique letter that Trump penned to Turkey's President Erdogan came out in the media. This was a letter like no other. What's the gist? Let me tell you. I'd like to read the entire letter, but let me give you the gist. Donald Trump says to Erdogan, and this is how the letter goes. 1. Let's work out a good deal. I'm quoting from the letter. What's this deal? No one knows. 2. You don't want to be responsible for slaughtering thousands of people. Who led to this situation is the question. The US president by deciding to pull out the troops. Point number 3 by Donald Trump. I don't want to be responsible for destroying Turkish economy, and I will. Now, all that the US has done so far is impose tariffs on steel from Turkey and sanctions on some leaders. By the way, Turkey does not export much steel to the US, and the lira, that is the Turkish currency, has actually seen a rise after Trump's sanctions. Point number 4 from the letter. Don't let the world down. Now, we don't know if Trump is speaking about himself here. Point number 5. History will look upon you as a devil if good things don't happen. I have no words for this. Point number 6. Don't be a tough guy and don't be a fool. I will call you later. This is the president of the US. Look who's saying this. Is this even a formal letter from one head of state to another? Many are asking this. Is it fake? This isn't. This is the letter that Donald Trump wrote. But this is how Trump's diplomacy promptly threw it in the bin. It's difficult to agree with Erdogan on most things, but on this one, I think there is global support and consensus for the reaction. Going back to the story and what's happening on the ground, a US delegation headed by Mike Pence, who is the vice president of the US, along with American Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, met Turkey's President Erdogan today, and they urged him to end the military operations in Syria. By the way, Turkey has just deployed tanks to the Syrian border, shows the extent to which Erdogan respects the views of the US. The Syrian army, meanwhile, has entered the strategic border town of Kobani, while Russia has raised its flag in another border town, Zor Magar. But Turkey's military built-up is relentless, and Turkey is threatening to send 3.5 million refugees to Europe if it doesn't stop its criticism. The situation is evolving and alarming at the same time, but one thing is for sure. Trump's Syria decision has exposed the Kurds, initiated this violence, and now his letter is only making matters worse. The border area in northeast Syria is a battleground, a battle triggered by none other than Donald Trump, being waged by Erdogan, and the victims are the Kurds. As Syrian government forces advance to protect their sovereignty, expect more bloodshed and more say for Russia in this region.